Welcome to Command Control Power, the longest-running Apple consulting podcast. For over a decade, we've delivered weekly episodes filled with epic tech support stories, troubleshooting insights, discussions about managing clients and businesses, and interviews with industry colleagues and vendors, all tailored for our pro listeners. We also offer exclusive content through Patreon. This private podcast feed is designed specifically for IT professionals, providing valuable advice and guidance on tackling the more complex aspects of running your practice, working with clients and employees, and managing device fleets. With a modest monthly contribution, you'll gain access to a wealth of advanced Apple expertise, meaningful connections, and a community driven by a shared passion for Apple technology. Visit commandcontrolpower.com and click support to learn more. And now, on to the show.
Welcome back to Command Control Power. Sam, how's your life going over there?
I like the way you said that. That was a strong intro, Joe. Welcome back to Command Control Power. That was good. Yeah, everything's good, man. I think it's been a little bit of a busy time for me lately, scheduling wise and stuff. So I've been used to having some of my own time, like to plan and not having as many having to go to client sites or client discussions. So I've been able to work on projects, but the last few weeks have been and weeks coming forward has been a lot of scheduling different things. And summertime is hard because you have your own stuff that you might be doing, but also customers have their own. I'll be away this week. I won't be here that week. I can take a couple of days off here. So it's been a little tricky, but
that's a good point. Sometimes it helps though too, right? It's half the office is out this day. Do you guys want to come in and just update all the network stuff or whatever it is? Like we've had that work in our favor a little bit lately, but yeah, it's tricky depending on the client.
Yeah, I went to our oldest client who's in Manhattan yesterday, actually, was it? Yeah. And we needed to upgrade their firewall and put in another Mac Mini for FileMaker server upgrade. Yeah. And there were two people in there. And it's just like basically second in command and another employee. The other employee, by the way, just as a side note, I walked by her desk. I'd never met her before because I've been so remote. Yeah. And I was like, oh, hey, I'm Sam. I do the IT. And she she had a mic and I didn't realize she was on a Zoom. She's like, hello. I was like,
sorry. Yeah.
She was clearly annoyed that I introduced myself during her meeting.
Yeah. How are you supposed to know? You can't always tell.
I know, but it was funny.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. I do have a quick story about that particular client because we do some SonicWall stuff. And I've been doing a lot of UDM pros too, because I think for a lot of our customers, it's a much more appropriate solution than the expense of a SonicWall.
Sure. Yeah.
But this client has had a SonicWall for years, so we do this just upgrade in place. But I don't know how many of our listeners use SonicWall, but I'll tell you, I ran into a snag that was a little nerve-wracking. So first off, the nice thing is you can export a configuration from the previous SonicWall and import it into the new one. And usually, even though it could be a different model from like a TZ400 to a TZ470, it'll give you a warning that it's different, but it'll allow it to import. And there's really not a whole lot that's different if you use just base stuff. So anyway, it imported just fine. And then I realized I couldn't sign in. The admin account had two-step. So I couldn't sign in. It would say the admin account is not authorized. And I realized I didn't think of this until afterwards, but because I was setting it up offline, I think there was an issue where it couldn't resolve that second factor, even though I had it in my app and it's supposed to be timed. I looked it up and SonicWall said if it can't connect to an NTP server, network time server, And it was stupid of me, but in the thick of it, I didn't think I can just connect it to the network as a secondary device and let it connect. So I thought I'm screwed here. So the reason why I'm talking about this is because what I ended up thinking I had to do is wipe it and start again, which I've done many times. So I stuck the button, a little paperclip in the reset button, held it for 10 seconds, it restarted, and it just went right back to normal. And I was like, that's strange. Maybe I did something wrong. So I did it for longer. I tried doing it for longer. It wouldn't reset.
Weird.
So I looked it up, and it turns out these new Gen 7 SonicWalls won't just reset if you have physical access to them as a security feature.
Oh, okay.
You have to put it in, what's the mode? A safe mode. And then there's a maintenance key that you need, which normally you can only get if you've registered it to a SonicWall account. And I'm like, I'm so screwed. I've not registered it yet. I can't get into it. I can't get it into maintenance mode. So I was
Wow.
freaking out. And then I did a little bit more digging, and you can download the Sonic Express app, which I did. And then you ask to enter a device in manually. You put in the serial number and the activation code, and it displays a maintenance key, which I was then able to get into the device and reset it. But
wow. But not being able to reset it locally, I understand like actually, I don't really understand why it would be a security thing. I guess because if you're like filtering web traffic or whatever, and then suddenly you turn that off, I don't know. Is it a security thing, or wouldn't that just bring the whole network down then? So what's insecure about a network being down?
I think maybe it's the unauthorized access, maybe to reset it. And that's the only thing I can think of. It's not in a secure location. So someone does something bad and they reset the whole thing, and that's a protection feature.
Well, yeah. So I don't know if you call it security or call it whatever, but yeah, basically it's to prevent somebody from messing with it, which is nice. It's nice that they have that.
I mean, if next time I'll put your stickers on there, it says stop, do not touch, and that should be enough of a.
Those are Jerry's stickers.
I know, but you adopted them, didn't you?
I have one. I wish I had it. I used to have it on my desk. I can't see because I got a pile of crap that Jerry would chastise me for. But no, I did design one. I didn't want it to say stop because I find that a little bit offensive. Stop.
I think you'd be nicer about something.
Why not say go away?
Please halt.
Leave the area. Yeah. No, I just don't say stop. I just say manage by CIMAC. Contact this. If you want help, I'm giving you an easy way to find me. If you want to mess up your whole network, like that's not I'm not gonna. My sticker's not gonna get you to stop anyway. If you're already going in there with a paperclip or whatever, like it's not gonna stop you just because I said stop with an exclamation point. But anyway, that's just my opinion.
You got to have the octagon around it too.
Yeah, stop sign. Right, that's very authoritative. Yeah.
Halt.
Oh man.
Yeah,
well,
but
you got through it though.
Yeah, I got through it. It was just like it's one of those things where even though there were only 2 people in there, that office does have a Synology that people access. So they're like, "Can you do it at 12?" And it was counting down to 12 when I ran into my issue. So I was like, "Oh my god, I started to get this is never going to work in time." One of those moments.
Yep.
And
it's like I have a Zoom at whatever time, and it's just crap. Yeah.
But it was interesting. I feel like I felt in a small way that I was a little out of practice on certain things.
Sure.
I'm not in the mix as much. And even the client was like, "Oh, what are you doing here?
Who are you again?
Who are you?" We've known each other forever. That's the nice thing about it is they're my absolute oldest client ever.
Wow. Yeah. Oh, there we go. Jerry's here.
Hey, JZ.
That was rough, guys. Didn't think I was going to.
You're looking better. Better. We're less fuzzy, slightly pixelated, but we do see the catacombs behind you. That's
you had to go down to the catacombs to get
there you go.
The signal.
And you just resolved it full res there, so looking much better. Back to your old self. Awesome.
Yeah.
Very nice. Good to see you in full quality there.
So thank you.
I know you can't really say it's under NDA, but what was the hassle there? Tahoe stuff?
I can't say, Joe, because I'm under NDA.
It's so secret. Yeah.
Yeah, I can't say.
Yeah.
No, I've been running iOS 26 on my phone and on my Mac Tahoe. Like they're on the 4th beta. Pretty much everything works. Nothing is like terribly broken. Which I think, like you had echoed on a similar show. I don't remember whether it was you or Sam. You were saying that this has been the trend where Apple kind of has a lot more stability in some of these beta releases of their software. And that's what I found. There might be these edge cases of if I was using Pro Tools, it breaks something in Pro Tools, but that company, DigiDesign, that makes Pro Tools, I don't think is even in business anymore.
I don't know.
Like I said, if you had some sort of a audio editing or video editing setup, you wouldn't want to do this. But if you're like me and nothing really matters, what could go wrong? Why not?
What could go wrong other than in the middle of your podcast? It's just your freeze frame, and we can't because you look perfect now. Like what
Thank you, Joe. You look pretty nice yourself too. And Sam, you're lovely. Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
Always. Yeah.
But you were like, it was just like there were like 5 pixels representing you, like in the previous. No, there's like a slight exaggeration.
That's your monitor from the last show that you were talking
exactly
about.
Right.
You had a pixel density of 5.
But seriously, it's surprising because you had just installed the latest beta. So you would have restarted at that. And like, why would it have just crapped out and degraded until you restarted? So they're still working out some kinks, it sounds like.
We can't talk about this.
That's true. We can't talk about it. Yeah.
Come on, Joe, you know better.
Now you guys are all rocking patch.
You'd be shamed. He'd be shamed on Slack for talking about such horrible things.
Rightly, it's like defending a trademark. You have to go after everybody if they say something out of line. But okay, switching gears. You guys are using Patch, right? Electronic Patch.
Yep.
Friend of the show. Great software. I wanted to talk about like switching to the new version, which there were some changes there and really nice improvements, I have to say. And also, just for comparison, I'm curious if anyone out there has tried it yet, but Adigy just released a feature called Prebuilt Apps, which is maybe going to supplant the need for Patch for me. I don't know. It has not happened yet, but we'll get to that. So the new method, starting in patch 3.2, I think it is. I believe that's all been released now. I think they're still just on 3.2. Yeah. So
by the way, I'm sorry not to derail you, but kudos to Sam, because Sam mentioned Patch to me first.
Yep.
And then I started using it because Sam told me about it. And
I was first.
This is out of order. Usually,
that's not normal.
Or you made me aware of Patch. I'm pretty darn sure. And so I was second in line.
Yeah.
We had chat on the show.
I was third, just keeping that's a tradition alive.
Yeah, that's normal.
But third and probably most to celebrate it. It's fantastic. And so what I really liked about it, so they have two modes. You can have originally it was just their own custom dialog box, which I really like the appearance of. It's not like an Apple standard dialog box, but it's a highly customizable one where it would display the little app icon that needed the update, and then it would put your little badge of your icon over it. That was all just built in. What I really liked about that is rolling that out in Adigy was really easy. You can just specify the existing icon that's already deployed by Adigy to your clients that are already running Adigy. So in other words, you know that this PNG is going to be there on every client system. You just specify that path, and Patch is great, which uses that. So it's like I didn't have to do anything to make that work. It was awesome.
Yeah.
But I did start to hear from clients like, first of all, you get the clients like, is this you? I'm like, yeah, it's got my icon on it. Yeah, it's me. But
what do you think?
It's a good question, though. I would always actually say to them, like, thank you for checking. That's my like mantra when they ask me about spam or security issues or a pop-up on their system or whatever. It's thanks for checking. I actually want you to reach out to me if you have any question about something on your system. But they would ask and I'd say, yep, that's me. It's part of our new thing, whatever. And then we started to get the question of, hey, can you like change like the app updates because like it's really inconvenient, people. And I would explain to them, okay, the way it works is it's going to just update it if it can. So if the app is not running and it needs an update, it's just going to update it, which is great. It just silently updates it. If the app is running, because maybe you've got it running all day, it's going to prompt them, your employees, it's going to prompt them to choose update now or update later. I don't get what's so annoying. I really don't, honestly. Just later, click later. I don't care. I'm not even enforcing it. Like it would be inconvenient if I were like saying, okay, you get 2 deferrals and then I'm going to enforce the update. That would be inconvenient because you'd be maybe in the middle of a Zoom call or something. But again,
podcast.
Yeah, or podcast. Patch is great for that too because it knows about all the common meetings apps like Google Meet and Teams and Zoom and whatever, and it will allow you to just not bother the user, which is probably the default. I don't remember if I had to turn that on or not, but if one of those is actively hosting a meeting, then don't bug them. That's handy too. Okay, so that was all the way it worked originally, and I really liked it. My clients started to question it a little bit, and so in the meantime, they released this new version where you can display those notifications in the notification center. Great, that's what clients are used to that. They're familiar with things popping up there, and that's a built-in Apple-designed system, and so they just plug into that. It's fantastic. To enable that, they now also have a menu bar app because that you basically need something to happen when a client actually clicks the notification in the notification center. That will bring them to your app in the menu bar, your version of the Patch app in the menu bar. And then from there, they can see what actually needs to be updated. So the other thing it does is rather than showing a pop-up for each app, like 1Password needs to be updated, update now or later. Dropbox needs to be updated, update now or later. Word, whatever. Now they've seen a series of pop-ups, and that's a little annoying. I can understand that. So now instead it will say, and I think you can configure this, but it will say so and so need updates. And then you click on the thing and then you see again in the recap in the menu bar which apps need to be updated. And then you can update one or you can click update all. So that's pretty cool. So I like that improvement. So for me, going from the previous method,
where's
to
Jerry
the new
going?
method, Jerry's dancing. I don't know what's happening. This is why people need to support us on Patreon and tune in for the live
So
show.
you can see Jerry in the catacombs disappearing into the ground.
Disappearing, dancing. I don't know if he vomited or sneezed unexpectedly. That's you can analyze that later, guys.
Jerry, you're muted, Jerry, on top of it all.
And we're back.
Smash the like button. That's what I say.
It comes back just.
Oh man. So I recapped my process, and this is again a combination of Adigy, which I love, and Patch, which I love, going from the previous version of Patch to the new version of Patch. Because now I'm basically doing this policy by policy or client by client. So when they've raised their hand and said, hey, my people are asking me what are all these pop-ups, blah, blah, blah. So then I respond to them, hey, we're deploying a new method. And I'm doing this again, client by client to roll it out. I'll probably switch everybody at some point pretty soon, but I wanted to see, I still need more reporting on this because I feel like, I'm not sure if this is true, but I feel like the old method of just like bothering people until they finally click update now might lead to more readily updated apps than the new method where it's like a little bit less persistent. So they're happy because they're like, you don't bother me as much and I can just ignore it. It's in the upper right corner. But of course, that may lead to them indefinitely deferring important updates.
But you can still set a deferral limit though, no?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm curious, can you talk about that? Do you like, how do you roll with that? A number of deferrals or a number of days or?
Yeah. So one of the things that I was just looking at one of my entries right now, one of the things I was a little confused about that I just started to test is if you have run interval settings for, I don't know, let's say every 4 hours, just as an example, so that you only annoy them maybe twice a day.
Yeah.
Then you have a deferral limit. I think the deferral limit is based on that interval. So if I wanted it, this is where I was a little confused. If I wanted it to be, let's say, a deferral limit of 7 days,
yeah,
I think it would be I'd have to count 14. The amount of every 4 hour intervals for 7 days.
Yeah. But it also depends on how many times they've actually been sitting in front of their computer when Patch has run. If it's sleeping for a day and a half, there's no deferrals during that time, essentially.
I think there's a way to set like something like ignore as deferral. I forget the key, but if they miss it.
If they miss it because they're in a meeting, you can count that as a deferral or not.
Yeah.
Like do not disturb, same deal. If they're in do not disturb all the time and Patch wants to run, but it says they're in do not disturb and you've told me to respect that setting, it can either count that as a deferral or not. But my point is like, what if the Mac is just sleeping? It's not, see, there's no way to translate from deferrals to like deferral instances to days because you'd never know if they're going to actually, if it's going to run on any given day or not, if they're sleeping or using a different Mac or whatever.
I will check on this because I thought that even if it bypasses it due to just not happening, that it's still, you can count it as a deferral, I thought.
Yeah. No, you can. Oh, you mean if it's literally, it's been 2 days since they used their computer. So that would have been 8 times that Patch would have run or whatever it is, counting the number of.
Yeah, I think that's the way it goes. But now now you're making me second guess myself.
Well, for me, I don't know. I was going to say I don't care about the number of days, but I guess I do. I was going to say you could proxy it based on the number of deferrals, and that's good enough. Because it's, if you see, I guess, so in a lot of these clients instances, the question would be, do you count a silent suppression of Patch as a deferral or not? Because some people have their personal iCloud signed in and they have iCloud syncing their do not disturb status across both devices and they just leave their stuff in do not disturb all the time. I've seen stuff like that. Or they know how to use it and they actually turn it on and off, but it's like oftentimes turned on to do not disturb. So they're not going to see a lot of instances of Patch and you don't want to surprise only 2 days later or something. So I don't know. That's a very good question though, Sam. Like, how do you manage that?
Yeah. And it's funny because I have a habit of doing this live on shows. Like I was looking at one of my settings. I was like, oh, that's not right. So I was just going into one of my clients right now as we're talking and I'm thinking, can I do the show at the same time as making a plist change and not screw it up?
That's the big question. Can you not screw it up while you're doing it live? Yeah.
We'll find out. We'll find out. More
Jerry,
on that soon, everybody.
Jerry, do I assume correctly that you roll pretty standard with this, mostly out of the box, or?
Pretty much. I don't lose much sleep in regards to updates. Don't use their menu bar option. I just have the default set to update all. I forget what my deferrals are, and if it happens, if it doesn't.
Yeah, no, exactly. I have a similar vibe. It's like we're making the best effort. We're displaying a prompt to encourage you to update the stuff that you're probably not updating on your own, and that's part of our offering. And you can ignore it if you want. There's certain high security setups where I think a deferral limit with an enforcement like time. I don't know, to Sam's point, maybe it's not a number of days, which oftentimes we want to talk in the number of days, but maybe you allow them to defer it 10 times. I don't know, throw a number out there, and that represents a few days typically, or a week or something, depending on your other settings, because you want them to you want to insist that they're staying up to date, even with all these third-party apps. For me, the most important thing is stay up to date with your Mac OS, which we do manage that. And that, so that's the main thing. And also patch is doing important things like updating your third-party web browsers and stuff that's like very susceptible to these zero-day attacks.
I'll make a comment on this. Something that Ryan at Electrona talked to me about is if you don't turn off some of the auto updates that are already set in the apps, it could try and catch it before patch does. And then if it requires admin rights, you'll get an admin prompt if they're not an admin on their computer. Because a lot of my end users are standard accounts. So I was like, why is this happening? Isn't patch doing it? He's like, yeah, but if you have an automatic update set in an app, it might catch it first. So I had to account for that too and shut some of that down.
So what does that mean? Deploying like mobile config files to suppress auto updates for Chrome and
sometimes, yeah.
Which is actually ironic then, because you're then you're enforcing that patch really has to work.
If I back up, actually, so Mike Kingsley said it before I did, right in the chat. So Slack was the one. Google Chrome can do its update on its own, and once it restarts, it's good.
With no admin need.
Yeah, but Slack was one of those where it needed administrative rights for, I think, their helper tool or something like that. So people were getting that. That was the example I should have used, was definitely Slack.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I want to get into this too, but Mike Kingsley in the chat also says that he highly recommends Adigy's pre-built apps feature, and he used it all through the beta, and that's why he never really did patch, which I understand. I hold out for a long time on a lot of this stuff. I was like rolling it manually with trying to deploy profiles to manage Firefox updates and Chrome updates, to have their auto updaters be enforced to work. You could do some of it with Adigy's software catalog, a very extensive software catalog. You could create a flex policy that would match any machines that have Chrome installed and use the Adigy auto deploy for Chrome, or actually more appropriate to use the profile method for Chrome. But anyway, for other apps that don't have an auto update built in, you could use Adigy. So pre-built apps in Adigy is designed for this feature.
We're jumping ahead a little bit, but since Mike is live in the chat, could we ask him, one of the downsides to using Adigy's pre-built apps is that for each app, it's an individual policy, correct? Or
it's an individual configuration profile.
Exactly. And my question to Mike is, that leads me to prefer patch over this other system, although patch is an extra paid option that you would need to do as a consultant. I'd love for Mike to just address that, having these multiple configuration profiles.
I don't know that it necessarily matters all that much. It could look messy if you have 25 apps to update, but it's really just small text bits of data. So I don't know that it's that big of a deal.
And I don't know if this is true, but the way that I perceive that it works is that if you want to update 25 apps or 50 apps or 100 apps potentially on all your devices, I think it's going to deploy 50 or 100 configuration profile every machine, whether they have the app or not, just in case it's there and it needs to be. And because essentially behind the scenes, Adigy is using the configuration profile to tell itself on that machine that that pre-built apps is managing these updates for that app in question. it would just make me feel better if it would just be consolidated into one profile that just has a list of all the apps that are managed by that feature. So maybe they'll evolve to that. And I'm waiting for it to evolve to see for Sin. But that's my issue too, Jerry. It just seems a little messy. That said, I've
You
already
guys are
got like
babies.
15. Yeah, there's 10 to 15 profiles on most of my manage Macs anyway, even if it's just like nothing special, because it's like they've got backplays. So I'm deploying a profile to like allow full disk access and go down the list. There's just a ton of those examples already. It's the perfect use of configuration profiles. And I don't know if there's a limit. I'm sure somebody's tested it with 500 and it's like fine or whatever. But so yeah, each app that you configure to be managed, to have managed updates using Adagy's pre-built apps feature, basically puts a configuration profile for that app on every device where you've managed it. That's my understanding of pre-built apps.
So from a management standpoint, you just see the single pane to set it up, but on the endpoint, they're getting the multiple profiles. Is what you're saying?
I think so. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I haven't played with it yet.
Neither have I. So I do want to, but I haven't yet.
Me too. I've just looked at the guidance about it and some screenshots from colleagues and things like that. I'll circle back to that because, again, like Mike said, it's always nice to just consolidate into one platform that has the features you need. And Sam, you were talking about this on the recent show that aired actually today as we record this, about you set up a new client and you've got to like manually create an account in this software that you're using on the back end, manually create something else here, deploy this stuff to round out your service offering for your managed service plan. It's nice when all that stuff is just built in. You don't have to create a account with, what are some of your examples?
Mine more focused on some of the security tools, using KnowBe4 for training, and we use SonicWall for email protection. And I'm just like, geez, I got to maintain all of this stuff. And
yeah,
I won't go off onto this tangent right now, but one of the things I was focusing on that show that you just decided not to show up for, Joe, was I was talking about Rotate, which was a new product that has all of that in one. That's why I liked it, because it was like all those pieces and just one shot. So I actually just signed up for a trial with them. So I hope to have something to report on a future show with that.
Yeah, and it's not just money. The money is a big part of it. It's like avoiding an extra bill for a separate service to tack on to every machine that we manage. It saves us a lot of money every month if we can avoid that. So that's definitely part of it. But it's also like your point of just having one interface that has all the features, like Adagy having pre-built apps built in. And Mike just said it's easy to do. Just do it all at once in Adagy, and then it's select which Macs, or maybe it's just one policy that you put all Macs into to manage this, and it's done. But again, I really patch, and I'm now like, I actually like it for that menu bar app feature, because again, that's just going back to the script here. The idea is that you can switch from the old way to the new way. So for me, now that I've got everything configured in Adagy, I basically remove the existing client policy from my Flex policy in Adagy that manages patch and deploys all the patch profiles and stuff like that for me. So I remove that specific client from that policy that is otherwise encompassing basically all my clients that currently have patch. I then go in and I hide the contact menu in Watchman Monitoring. So in Watchman Monitoring, I have a little menu bar, the contact menu. I have my little icon in the menu bar that's deployed by Watchman Monitoring. That was a nice feature back in the day before I even had Adagy. Then I either wait like 1 to 2 hours, assuming the Macs are online, or maybe I give them a day or two, because the idea is when the Mac reports in, what's happening is Adagy is saying, okay, uninstall patch from this Mac because I've removed it from the policy where it's managed. Watchman is saying, okay, you've checked in, hide the contact menu. So I need to basically let all that happen. Now I may be able to actually just, because basically that's allowing the removal script to run to uninstall patch. So the reason I want to do that is because I actually want it to reload patch, because it needs to reinstall patch with the menu bar app, my special logo for the menu bar, which like I said, I could leverage the one from Adagy, my logo that was being used to display on the little patch pop-ups, but the menu bar icon is its own separate thing that you have to deploy. So I need to make sure that's deployed where it needs to be. And I need patch to basically like reload fresh to actually display my icon in the menu. Essentially, I just found it's cleanest if I can remove and reinstall. So I guess I could, rather than waiting 1 to 2 days or 1 to 2 hours at the minimum, I could manually send the commands to deploy the policy to the machine. And I can also, through Adigy, I can tell Watchman monitoring to check in and run. That will hide the contact menu. I'm just trying to make this as clean as possible for my clients.
Yeah.
So I want the Watchman menu to hide and the patch menu to show all in one go. And that's the best way I found that can do it. But it does work really reliably.
Yeah, that's the one reason why I haven't used my icon and patch everywhere, because I don't want it to show up twice. I got to remove the Watchman menu first. And so one of my clients, I just left the Watchman menu on there. I just use their logo for patch just to have something branded for them. And I'm not sure. I thought about doing that elsewhere. I've noticed I've been a little inconsistent with how I've deployed this because of the contact menu, exactly what you said. Like, and I've called it different things. Like I was calling it HDS patch, and then and I haven't settled on how I want this to look yet, really. Yeah. So it's not consistent.
I like when I'm connecting remotely to a client, they're like, oh, I just click on you. And I'm like, that's weird, but yeah. And then they somehow think that I'm already connected. It could be a one-off client. Like there's no management software installed. And they'll be like, I just click over here, right? And I'm like, I don't know. I have no idea what you're pointing to. Like, obviously, I thought it was obvious, but yeah, it's funny. Like some of them really know that icon though. Like they're very familiar with that Watchman monitoring contact menu, like my icon on their system, and they're remembering to go to it. Other clients, I guarantee they've just never noticed it.
Yeah.
But in the cases where they're looking for it, I don't want 2 to appear. It just would feel very weird and broken if from their perspective.
It would.
Now, I've thought about this too, because I was thinking, so if Adigy builds this feature in, and I start to use, they have built it in, and I start to use pre-built apps, now what am I going to do for this menu thing? And Jerry uses support app, right? Jerry, have you success with
That's
that?
a good one.
Yeah, and I've heard good things, and it's free. It's like open source.
It's not open source. The company who Root NL donates it to the community, and they have their own patching solution. I looked at how their patching options, the cost, and the cost was higher than electronic patch.
Okay, that's you can say that.
So it's a more expensive option, but it looks very nice and it integrates really nicely with their system. And looks like they do a very nice job. But if you want affordability, patch or Adigy with
that's amazing. I love the Swift dialogue views and everything.
Me too. And that looks the most extensible, right? In the sense like you can put other links in there and all stuff. The new version of Patch has some similar functionality. So in the Patch menu bar app, you can click Get Help, and you can customize this to some degree with whatever buttons you want in there. So I have mine say Managed by SciMac Prime for support. And then I have my email address and the phone number in there. I have a contact SciMac button, so they can click that. It goes to our website. So if their email's not working or whatever, they can still send us a message through. It goes into our ticketing system, basically.
Yeah.
And then download SOS, because I have a lot of clients that are one-off clients, or this just occurred to me. If they already have Patch on here, then I have access through Adigy, so I don't really need them to download Splashtop SOS. But I guess it makes sense to have it in there as the option, right? If it's not working, if Live Desktop is down or something like that, or whatever, they can just get there from this little window. It just takes them right to the link to download our Splashtop SOS app. So that's all in the Get Help button in Patch. There's also now 3 tabs. So whereas it used to be like just a list of updates, whatever, now you have available updates. You have the history to show the updates that have been done. That's great visibility for the client. They can see something was done. If they have any question about what might have happened when, it's right there. It's totally visible. And then they can click on System, and they can see what kind of chip do you have? What's your serial number? What's the name of the computer? Last reboot, whatever. You can choose whether to show this stuff, but why not show it? It seems somewhat useful.
You can also have a threshold on the last reboot so that it alerts them that, hey, it's been over this period of time. So I like that too.
That's a good point. It can show them a little alert, on the system tab, basically, with the uptime. So that's a nice feature. The thing is, just back to the thing we're talking about here, Sam, about Watchman, because I know, Jerry, you didn't use that use support app, and that's probably a good reason why not to use the Patch menu bar app, because you've already got support app deployed. I don't like the idea of displaying 2. So like you need one that's going to do it all. And for me, if I'm using Patch, that's Patch. That's the menu bar app. Because I guess I could go back to the old way. But if I want to use this nice sort of notification center alerts and consolidated update alerts, like you've got 3 updates to do versus 1 for each update, those are features of Patch that basically rely on the menu bar app. And therefore you want to display that. But Sam, you had the idea of, like, in some cases, you use the company's own logo. Maybe that's an alternative, but wouldn't that be weird if you're directing them to, like, your icon for certain aspects of your support, like opening a ticket, versus like their icon for updates or something? I feel like you just need a one stop for that in the menu bar.
No, I agree. I think Watchman's going to come out of that menu bar, no doubt.
Oh, for me, for sure.
Yeah. So I'll consolidate that all into there. But as it leads to my whole inconsistency part. As I was deploying Patch for the first time, I was starting it one way, and then I tried another customer. I was like, oh, let me try it this way. And so I had 3 different iterations of how I put it out, but that's just going to fix over time with me.
One thing I really like about this whole workflow, and again, like once you've got Adigy on these machines and you've got your patch policy configured, I have the legacy patch policy and I have the new one. So my final step in the process I mentioned earlier is, like, after waiting for basically patch to uninstall and Watchman contact menu to hide, then after whatever amount of time, or like manually sending commands, you then just move that machine into the new policy and you're good to go. I've got a condition script in my installer. If it's not there, it's going to deploy the extra little menu bar icon and things that are needed. It's going to deploy the PPPC profile again. It's going to deploy the notification center profile, and the background process management, service management for for Patch. So it's what I really just like about this way that this works is, like, you've got your policy configured, you just add the machine to it, and you're done. You walk away. And it just suddenly your menu appears in their machine and they're alerted to the updates. Like, it's, I don't know. To me, that's just so cool. That's what I'm getting at. It's just really freaking cool.
It is super cool. I've learned a lot about the tweaking and stuff like that. And they've been very responsive in Slack, especially Ryan. So it's been good to have that support, and then knowing you guys use it, it's easy. We can rely on each other for some of that stuff.
I have a funny story about, speaking of Ryan, because you mentioned him earlier as well. He's I don't know, he's like maybe the manager of Patch or something for Electrona. He's the guy, and he's the like lead developer and whatever. He's so responsive. And I've told this story before about how one Saturday I'm like, oh, hey, like I need file.
Just about the Mophie.
No, that story, I've retired that story. No,
okay.
I'll probably have a monitor story from about Amazon at some point. So just wait for that.
Ryan didn't have a Mophie that you got.
Ryan deployed FileMaker to Patch like in a matter of like 20 minutes on a Saturday morning. It was just like amazing response time. So I've already mentioned that story, but the new story is Sam and I are sitting there at Aces, and I'm working on this because this had all just come out in Patch. The new version is out and whatever. Like 3.0 was out. So I'm like now working on deploying this in Patch, and I'm testing various icons. And speaking of my monitor and pixelation issues, I was having issues with my icon being pixelated in the menu bar. So I'm like on Slack chatting with Ryan, and he's like coaching me through this. He ends up just sending me the file that he like made of my own icon because he's, I don't know, basically he didn't say this, but I don't know what you're doing. Use this.
I'm going to do it for you.
Because I was like struggling. I just couldn't make it work. So he just sends me the icon. So I like use that, and I'm like, sure enough, okay, there it goes. It's all good. And then I walk out to like meet the vendors at Aces, and like Ryan is standing there at the Adigy booth. I'm like, wow. You just texted me an icon that I used and it worked. Thank you. And oh, nice to meet you, and put a face to the name. Like he's there like talking to people at the booth and like sending me files that I need for my Patch installation.
Nice. So, that's funny.
So with both Adigy and Patch, they are super responsive. So whichever method you go with, like, it's great and you'll be in good company. For me, it's a matter of which of these icons in the menu bar are going to be able to do all the things that I want. And so far, like, Patch is doing it. And if I switch to pre-built apps, I'm just going to need to roll my own in support app or Adigy self-service and figure out like how to have some presence on their system that's going to show that we're doing stuff on their system, because that's how we're all providing the value, but that's how you demonstrate the value, I think, to the client.
You want to have, we've talked about this different times, the art of not really being around so you're not a nuisance to them, and that's how things are working, quote unquote. But having little notifications that just say everything's good, we just did something for you, is nice as well.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I got something real quick that I was curious. I'm sure a lot of us don't have experience in Intune, and I hadn't either, but I wanted to bring something up that I thought was interesting, because we all have clients with Microsoft 365, of course, and I think it's either the Microsoft Business Standard, or I don't know if it requires premium, but one of them comes with Intune licenses, which I don't generally need. But I had a customer that needed something, and I thought it was good enough to bring up on the show, that they wanted to protect their personal devices without enrolling them into MDM and doing all that stuff. They wanted to make sure that their Microsoft data like only flowed through Outlook, and that they only use SharePoint and all this stuff. And I found it pretty interesting that through Intune, you can use what's called mobile application management. Instead of MDM, it's MAM or MAM or whatever.
What?
And
I've never heard of this. Okay.
Yeah, that's why I'm bringing it up, because I found it fascinating too. Basically, it doesn't have to be an enrolled device. There's no enrollment into like Intune MDM or anything, but through your policies, you can set application protection policies for Outlook, let's say, and block the native mail app. And then it makes it so that they can only use Outlook, and you can do MDM like features where they can't copy out of Outlook to something else or vice versa. And
because Outlook just supports it natively. So if they're using Outlook, it's all first party. That's interesting.
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
Yeah. And like you can add all the Microsoft apps into there so that they're considered managed apps, and they can do stuff as well. And then of course, Kingsley just brought up in the chat, you can combine that with conditional access to block some of the features. So basically you create all your management apps like Outlook and Word and SharePoint, and then use the conditional access piece of Intune to block the mail app. And those things combined without MDM do a hell of a lot of stuff that it's pretty crazy. And it's not that hard, actually. So I thought it was fascinating. So we basically locked down personal devices so that they can only use like through Outlook, and that's what they wanted.
Yeah.
Kind of neat.
So we should switch sides.
What do you mean switch sides?
No, this is just for if you don't want to enroll.
Yeah. I was where was I using Outlook? Oh, I was a remote with a client, and we're dealing with like password reset stuff, and she's using Outlook. So I'm in there, and you go in, and I have to say those emails were appearing really fast in Outlook. And I feel like in mail, I'm always waiting and refreshing and reopening it.
I know.
And I was like, wow, okay, Outlook is pretty good now. And Sam, you're rocking Outlook, or?
I hate to say it, but I am.
Pick up on that earlier.
Like a boss, like a hoss.
Wow, okay. Man.
Mail just killed me one too many times. I was like, or 1,000 too many times.
Yeah, no kidding. Do you have all your personal account? I don't know how you roll, but
business
versus personal, yeah.
Yeah, so I still use Apple Mail for my iCloud stuff, and I use Outlook for my work stuff.
Yeah, because I have to say, so Microsoft, they make this pretty clear when you're logging in, but when you're configuring an account for a client now, and it's like let's say you're adding a Google account to Outlook, or you're adding an iCloud account to Outlook, or I assume any IMAP account, like it's like going to the Microsoft cloud, right? Basically, do I understand this correctly? That basically Microsoft is storing your credentials on their server and checking mail for you and relaying it to Outlook through some kind of back channel. Am I
I don't know. I guess I don't know the ins and outs of that to answer that.
If you go, I know you like to do it live. So if you go into your Outlook right now and you go to add an account, and you just click Outlook, you click iCloud, or I don't know, I forget if they ask for the address or they ask you to choose which type of account it is first, but you will see a thing about the Microsoft cloud, and it's something to do with
it will be synced to so for a better experience, your emails, calendar, events, and contacts will be synced to the Microsoft cloud when you sign in and accept all permissions.
That's new. Isn't that new?
How did that
Sounds
sound?
awful.
All your email and contacts and calendars will just go to some Microsoft server that it's like a virtual machine that they're running for you that's going to actually check your email for
It's
you.
just some computer that's running parallels on there or something.
Yeah, exactly. It's like whatever they're doing, like technically, like essentially the bottom line is, okay, iCloud should be an IMAP connection between your client device, like your Mac mail app or whatever app, Outlook, Firebird, I don't know. What are the other mail apps? Thunderbird?
Thunderbird.
Yeah. So Eudora, I don't know. But so
Nice.
that app, that client app on your device should be talking to Apple's server over IMAP. That's what should happen. That's how email works. Microsoft said, forget about all that stuff with IMAP, like on your device. We're tired of hearing from people whose IMAP account went offline in your iCloud account in Outlook, and we're gonna just put it on our device, which we manage for you, and then your Outlook compute running on your computer will talk to our server, which our server will talk to IMAP and do all the dirty work, and we won't have to maintain the correct method of connecting to these accounts in your Outlook, because we don't control the version of Outlook that you're running. Sure, we can tell you to update, but we can definitely control our server. And if Apple changes something on the iCloud server that requires us to handle this differently, we'll just handle it differently, and our server will talk to your computer and handle the rest from there. So what do you have on that, Sam? You got any more?
All right, so there's a learn more. So I was reading up on that, but there is a sync directly with iCloud below the button.
Okay.
And you need
Mike just said the same thing.
Yeah, and you need an
popping off in the
app-specific
chat today.
password. What?
All right. Mike is popping off in the chat today. He's all on top
Nice.
of it. So he
Nice.
said the same thing. You can still do direct sync at the bottom. It says sync directly with iCloud instead. Yeah, exactly. So what? Okay. So you can choose to not give Microsoft all of your emails if you want. That's nice.
It looks like their reasoning in their Learn More article says this allows you to enjoy many features that were previously only available to those with Microsoft 365 or Microsoft Exchange online email accounts.
Yeah, but that to me says we just didn't want to build those features.
Oh yeah, of course.
Like into the app, because we built it into our servers. Like we had to build in those features into our servers to be able to sync your contacts with Google or sync your calendar with Google or whatever. We just didn't want to build those features into the app natively so that the data sits on your computer securely. Instead, I just don't, doesn't that seem crazy that Microsoft is just like, we're going to just assume everybody's okay with this? Like we're going to just let
well, a lot of, 99% of people will just click the button without thinking.
Yeah, and honestly, I don't care. I'm not having this conversation with clients. I used to be like I would have this conversation. Are you sure you want to do this and have this account in this app because it's going to talk to Microsoft, it's going to live on their server and what. Yeah, I agree. Like most clients really don't care. I just think fundamentally it sounds really weird that they're going to, I guess they're right that most people don't care. And they built this feature into their server and you just opt in and it's fine. And as long as it works, that's what people really care about.
Yeah.
I don't know. Seems weird though.
I think I'm liking this point in the show when Joe gets fired up again. This is enjoyable for me. But look, I'll agree with you there. Don't get me wrong. It's not like I would. This is probably one of the reasons why I would never set up iCloud in Outlook. I'm just going to stick with Apple Mail for that. I can deal with the pain. Actually, there is no pain when it comes to iCloud and Apple Mail. There's pain with Microsoft and Apple Mail, and that's always been an issue. And the last straw for me was just my calendar shit in the bed, and just it's like I missed appointments. It was just enough already.
Wow.
So
the native calendar app was the problem there.
That was the biggest. It was mail, of course, where it's sometimes the drill. Like wow, I've had no emails for 5 hours. That's so super strange.
Yeah,
Let me quit and reopen. 97 emails come in.
Right.
But
no, it's classic. It still happens. And like I said, with this client, I was actually impressed, like how, like it was noticeable that the emails were coming in very readily in Outlook, and that doesn't typically happen in mail, and that's embarrassing for Apple. So
there are small things too. This is probably not even worth bringing up, but you know how the native, if you get a code via email, just like you do via text, it would fill into Safari, but it can't do that from Outlook to Safari. Like basically I'd have to look at that code and type it in manually. That there's little stuff like that. Like an animal. Not like
this client that you mentioned that you said the mail was coming in so promptly. Were they syncing with the Microsoft server?
This was actually Microsoft all the way down. So this was a Microsoft 365 account in Outlook. Yeah. So
and that's what we all use here, right? You, Joe, you're not on Google anymore.
I'm on Google still.
You're still on Google.
I'll switch at some point. Yeah, but Sam, that point about the filling in the code in Safari from Outlook, I might have misread this because I actually had gone to Outlook to copy it, and then I went to Safari to paste it, and I noticed that it popped up for a second right before I just hit paste. I wasn't looking for it, but there was a prompt to fill the code, and I don't know if it just, I'm not sure if it, maybe it was a previous one that was still in her text messages or something. She also had mail running, but only for her Gmail account, which was not where this email was coming from. So maybe Gmail had a different code. I don't know, but I'd be curious if they've somehow built that in, because Apple's opening up a little bit. Like they have,
true.
Like you have the plugins for iCloud passwords in Firefox and Chrome now, and I forget there's another feature I feel like that's similar that I noticed recently. Oh, Mike is saying the same thing, that maybe that's starting to work now, coming into Firefox
in beta,
autofilling in Firefox. Yeah.
Oh, that he's in the beta that I'm not on. So Jerry, yeah, I don't know what he's talking about.
Maybe it works in beta, but no, we cannot confirm or deny that. Yeah. Anyway, Outlook, maybe worth a try out there, guys. I don't know.
I'm sorry to say, I'm a believer now.
Yeah. Do you say believer? That's Justin. What's his name?
Justin Bieber.
Justin Belieber.
Good catch there, Joe. Good catch.
Yeah, nice.
The Monkeys, I'm a believer.
That's a great song.
Yeah.
The only thing I do sometimes, and I'll just wrap this up, is sometimes I'll jut out the calendar portion of Outlook as a separate window, because that's what I'm used to, is going from mail to my calendar.
You could do that. That's good to know.
Yeah. I've got to remember. I think it's like opening a different window, but yeah, that's a nice handy function when I remember to do it.
Yeah. Nice. All right, that'll do it for another fine episode of Command Control Power. And if anyone has any feedback or questions, go to commandcontrolpower.com and click on, I don't know, probably contact.
Great sell, Joe. You did great.
But I actually want you to go to commandcontrolpower.com and click on support to learn more about how to support us on Patreon. I think you'll find it's not a ton of money to support us for a lot of extra content that we release only through Patreon. About once a month, there's a full show just for our Patreon listeners and supporters, and they really motivate us to keep doing this show for all the listeners out there. So we appreciate everybody listening, and we certainly really support the Patreon supporters as well, because you really motivate us that people are listening and find value in what we're doing. And for them, we have that extra content available about once a month for a full show that we talk about all kinds of additional topics that we don't always get into here, like some of the more details about supporting our clients, mistakes we've made, managing our employees, all that kind of stuff. That all
hearts that were
Patreon.
Broken.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
Yeah.
That's all there on Patreon, in addition to some additional things we release on Patreon besides shows. So we really appreciate you listening and also supporting us on Patreon. We're at commandcontrolpower.com, and you can also find us in the Command Control Power channel on the Mac Admin Slack. So that's where you can look for us if you have feedback and questions. We really appreciate you all out there. Thank you for listening to another episode of Command Control Power. We'll see you next week.
Of customers of all kinds.
Am I on the cloud?
Joe spins his deeply detailed yarns all the time.
I have a whole story about this.
Sam is on the road again, phoning in from a hotel.
At least we know where I am.